Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Before we get going, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Helps the channel out tremendously. I hate to harp on this, but I'm going to say it again because I just saw the analytics again today. 55% of our subscribers that come back and watch us multiple times are unsubscribed. So that means this channel could be double the size that it is currently. So if you're coming back and you like what we're doing, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. But to the meat and potatoes of this thing, Steve, the heck are we talking about today? What crazy?
I don't even know where to begin. Will, you had sent me an article. I had actually seen the rumors of this a couple days ago, but you sent it to me today, and I was like, all right, we have to talk about it. Do you have a link for it or anything? Or I don't really know how to set the table for this one because it's so wild. Go ahead and tee this one up. Well, my mind's in a puzzle today from what I'm about to read.
All right. Here we go. So I'll scroll to the top real quick so you can see it. Two surprise trade candidates that could be net valuable assets for the Detroit Lions. This is by SI. We have, as you scroll down, you can see it here. So one thing the Lions have yet to do this offseason is make a trade that could potentially get them over the hump. Is Sport Track and PFF have predicted that the two big names as trade candidates are Meek Robertson and Alex Anzalone. So this is not coming from Stephen Will. This is coming from this article here. Before it even gets started, that Stephen Will are nuts. Stephen Will are crazy. What the heck is Stephen Will talking about? Why do they want to trade two important pieces? Yada, yada, yada. We are going to give our 2 cents on it. And I don't know if everybody will agree with that, but this is not coming from us. This is coming from Mr. Emmett Metaslovsky from SI. First year as a writer for the Detroit Lions, Steve. So how you feeling about this whole thing as we get into it?
First and foremost, you shouldn't be able to write articles like that if you could still get butt whoopings for having bad report cards. So I think we should just start there and say, I don't know, do people who have like these big jobs with like ESPN and Sports Illustrated, do they actually like watch Lions games? Because one, I don't think it's a requirement that a team has to make a trade. I don't know if that's like in the NFL Players Association type thing where like you have to make a trade every year. I don't know. Two, he mentioned PFF. We'll get into some stuff about that later, but you want to trade our defensive captain and one of our best cornerbacks for what? I'm very confused. Draft picks, because I've been saying, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I don't see the Lions using 7 draft picks. So are you going to trade a Meek Robertson and Alex Anzalone and make that 10 draft picks? Like, do you think that this team needs 10 players on its team? Well, I don't even know where to begin with something as crazy as this. I have no idea where to even start my simple little mind to processing these thoughts or what's going on. So am I alone on this island?
Partially.
Geez.
I do feel like you're kind of taking it to automatically assuming that they're talking about adding picks. I think it could be moving up in the draft. And when I think about that, I'm interested part of this thing. And I'll save the suspense and just say this. Alex Anzalone being traded off to the Detroit Lions is absolutely off of the table. I don't want to have a conversation about it. I feel like I don't need to explain it. I even was having a conversation with a buddy of mine over the phone earlier today, and he was talking about, yeah, man, but what if they draft Jahad Campbell? Then would you be a little bit more open to trading Alex Anzalone? And I was like, absolutely not. So I guess I'll toss that out there before I even keep on going, Steve. If we were to draft Jahad Campbell, would the Alex Anzalone, maybe using him as a piece to trade up in the draft, interest you even more? You could be going to get another edge by trading up with a guy like Alex Anzalone. Does it interest you now?
Trading Alex Anzalone to move up and get Jahad Campbell? Is that the question?
No. So what I'm saying is, if we drafted Jahad Campbell, he slipped to 28 or whatever the case may be. We drafted Jahad Campbell. Would you now be interested in trading Alex Anzalone to move up back into the draft to get another piece to go along with him?
No, I have no interest in trading the captain of my defense, the one of the top 5 pass graded linebackers in football last season until he got hurt, and then he came back and you saw the difference. Alex Anzalone is only on a 1-year deal. All right, so I understand. Oh, trade him, yeah, get something for him. Why though? Like, why not just let him run out his last year of his contract? And if we drafted Jahad Campbell, I'd like to learn from Alex Anzalone. All right, I know we have Kelvin Shepard, who was a linebacker, but no, I don't have any interest in trading either Anzalone or Amik Robertson. It doesn't make sense to me. This is a team that's ready to win. I'm not going to get rid of two veteran players on this team. We have a very, very young defense, first of all. Now you want to trade away two veteran players to get another edge that I could probably already get. Like I could give up some draft capital in the later rounds and move and maneuver the second and third if that's what we're talking. I don't need to trade the captain of my defense to get another pick. Well, I don't need to do that at all.
I get it. And hey, I love Amik Robertson, but it's on the table for me. I'll tell you that. Because when I look at this secondary, I'm looking at Terry and Arnold. I'm looking at DJ Reed. I'm looking at Ennis Rakestraw, who we drafted in the second round. This is the future. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. That's the future of the Detroit Lions defense. So if you're telling me I can go into this draft, move up, potentially maybe even back into the first round, or I can clump those pieces together, maybe we're talking about Hendon Hooker and Amik Robertson, and I'm going up to the top half of the first round. If you're telling me it's something like that, I'm definitely freaking interested because I don't think our secondary is hurting. Our secondary would be hurting. We still got Rock. We still got Maddox, like Avante Maddox, like as veteran guys who could step in if Ennis isn't ready. But the core group of our secondary is those young dogs. Again, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, TA, and then DJ Reed. So what are you really missing if we lose Amik in a sense of, don't get me wrong, I love Amik. He's one of my favorite Detroit Lions. But if you're talking about business first, if I'm looking at, hey, maybe this is another first round draft pick or a guy that's in the front half of the second round, and I utilize this to go get another one of those pieces. And I'm not talking about turning this thing into 10 draft picks. I'm talking about maybe you're trading that pick 102 into a second round pick. You know what I mean? Maybe it's moving picks up instead of additional picks is my thought process, because at the end of the day, what's the hurt? And we could be looking at Amik being gone next year anyways, because is he going to want to stick around with all of these young guys? He's got one year left on his contract. Now, again, Alex Anzalone is absolutely off the table for me. I think we probably re-sign Alex Anzalone. I don't know why we wouldn't. And the thought, even when it was tossed at me, the thought of if we got Jahad, would I be open to it? No, I want Jahad and Alex Anzalone on the same team. So, I mean, like that the thought process of that is absolutely amazing to me. So, but yeah, Amik would be somebody that would be on the table for me. Don't get me wrong. In my heart, I would not like it at all. But the business sense in me would say, man, absolutely, because that young core, this secondary is there. If you're telling me I can add a young piece to this D line or maybe another weapon, hey, it's a no-brainer for me, man. Business first. We're trying to win Lombardies, not be you know, uh not hurting anybody's feelings, so to speak. And I don't think that it would be. We said it yesterday. We talked about it. The Detroit Lions are, they're straight up and down. They'll let you know what it is. So I don't think it would be any backstabbing or anything like that. I told a story, Steve, about Aaron Glenn. I don't know if you remember it, a couple weeks ago, and it was about him getting upset with Coach Parcells because Coach Parcells like big physical corners, and Aaron Glenn wasn't a big guy. So he marched into Coach Parcells' office and he said, listen, man, are you going to trade me because I'm not your typical corner and I don't fit the mold or the prototype of that guy? And he said, shut that door, son. Listen, everybody on this roster is tradable if the deal makes sense. All right, so that's the bottom line. If the deal makes sense, Brad is going to make a business move and he's going to go get another edge or a lineman or something. Could be a Jahad Campbell, whatever the case may be, if it makes sense. Because I think that there's a reason why the secondary got bolstered the way that it is. Now, do I know for sure what that reason is? I don't. I'm not Brad, but it would interest me for sure.
William, I can't believe you. Zero loyalties to this team. Zero loyalties. Zero. Dude, are we forgetting that there's only maybe, and I use this term loosely, maybe a handful of corners in the league that can do things like Amik Robertson did to Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings, who we play twice, who we're going to have a problem with Amik Robertson's value to this team, we saw it last year when he went out in the NFC. I keep wanting to say NFC Championship game in the playoffs. He went out like the first snap, and I just had this sick, nasty pit in my stomach. Like, I think that injury was probably the nail in the coffin for this defense. I just don't know if we can overcome a whole lot more. I get it. I mean, I don't understand. He'd have to have extreme value to induce a trade that would require us to move up into the top half of a draft. If you throwing him into a package with Hendon Hooker, who I think is the only real tradable player on this team, we might have a conversation. But am I giving up two pieces to go get what? Like I'd have to have an exact situation in front of me to really be able to decide what I want to do. But if I'm trading just Amik Robertson, no, it's not. It's not happening. If I'm trading Amik Robertson and Hendon Hooker to move up in the early part of the first round, the only two guys I'm interested in moving up to get would be Mason Graham and Abdul Carter, who's probably off the table. So am I trading up that much to get Mason Graham? Probably not, Will. So I don't see the trade, and I don't want to be in a situation where we were, last year and the year before, where we have pieces, we have some really nice pieces in our secondary. 1 week this guy goes down, a couple weeks later this guy goes down. We don't know what we have in Ennis Rakestraw for sure yet, 100%. I'd like to see it in the form that we have him in, where we can get him in while the team is still healthy and not force him into gameplay. Maybe another week this guy goes down, and now all of a sudden we're signing guys like Kendall Vildor. I don't want that ever, 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 ever again. I don't think we're in that boat or even close to it with how healthy we are right now and the guys that we've added. So it's still just a firm no for me, William. I've been thinking about this all day. I don't see that there's really a scenario other than moving up for Mason Graham that I would love trading Amik Robertson and or Hendon Hooker.
I'll be honest, I don't understand it in the sense of this, because if you're telling me I was trading Amik Robertson for Landon Jackson in the second round, I'd be down. Because if you're telling me I drafted an edge in the first round and now I'm moving back up and I can go get Landon Jackson, I drafted Mo Green and then or Mike Green, and I'm adding Landon Jackson with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just I don't understand. For me, or if I'm getting an extra pick, so now it's that scenario that we've been talking about. Maybe I got Talik. Talik got injured, so maybe I'm getting Talik later on because he's slipping down the draft board. So now I got Landon Jackson, Talik, and Mike Green, and Donovan Izoroku. Or like it could be any of these three guys. If I'm using a Meek or a package, it could be a Meek and a third round pick next year. It could be whatever the case may be. If I'm using him to utilize a way to where I can get three of these dudes on my team, I'm not going to bat an eye, because maybe we don't know what Ennis Rakestraw is in the NFL yet, but I know what Rock is in the NFL. And the dude's a heck of a cover corner. I know that. I know what Avonte Maddox is. I know what Terry and Arnold is. I know what DJ Reed is. Like it's a no-brainer for me, man. So for me, man, it's nothing to do with loyalty. It's everything to do with the business, man. It's everything to do with putting this team in the best position. So again, if you're telling me that, I'm kind of shocked, to be honest, because if you're telling me that you're sitting in that draft room and you got the keys to the Ferrari and they told you, hey, listen, we got an opportunity, just got a call. We got an opportunity to move up in the second round from Cleveland. We get picked 33 from Cleveland. All right. We got to give up a Meek. And you got all of these guys. You got your boy JTT on the board. Like it's going to be all types of animals on that board. You're telling me that you're going to keep a Meek with our secondary being in that position? Because I look at it, I think our secondary is deeper. You made mention to a Meek going out at that pivotal moment, but that was also a moment where Carlton Davis wasn't able to play. He wasn't out there. All right, so we weren't as deep as we would be if we were in that same boat. Because I think the situation is different if a Meek went out and Carlton Davis was still playing. A Meek started off the season playing nickel. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he started off the season playing outside corner and we were finding a way to be successful without him out there. Again, I'm saying all this, and I love Amik Robertson. I absolutely love him. But trying to take emotions out of this thing, it just makes absolute business sense to me to go get another asset, a younger asset, an asset that you're going to sign to potentially 5 seasons or 4 seasons on a cheap deal. No brainer for a guy that's probably not going to be in your team next year. Because if I'm Amik Robertson and I'm thinking about this, you got to find As a GM, the responsible thing to do this year is going to be to find a Meek or Ennis Rakestraw reps. Okay, you draft him in the second round. You didn't draft him not to get reps. He's got to have to get a look. Where is that look coming from? It's going to be coming from a Meek's reps, right? DJ Reed, you traded for him for a reason. Terry and Arnold, you took in the first round for a reason. Unless there's an injury, Meek is going to be battling for reps. I'm not going to say he's not going to be on the field. The dude is going to be on the field. He's a dog if he's with the Detroit Lions, but you're going to have to get Ennis an opportunity to get some reps and start to learn this NFL and see what you got in him. Makes no sense, man, for any of the parties involved to just not let him go do what dogs do. 27 years old. He's going to be looking for that last bag next season. I don't think he's going to get it from the Detroit Lions. You mentioned Justin Jefferson. I can show you some film of DJ Reed doing the same thing to Justin Jefferson, competing his ass off.
Yeah, I'd rather have two of those guys instead of just one, because now I need someone to lock up Jordan Addison on the other side too, or just using the Vikings.
Arnold.
Just using his
Arnold.
Yeah, they got another wide receiver by the name. They got plenty of weapons. We could talk about a lot of teams that have more than two receivers, but also
his name's Brian Branch.
If you're thinking that Amik Robertson is worth a second round pick, especially pick 33, if you were my GM and you traded pick 33, essentially almost damn near a first round pick for a corner that isn't really like elite, I think he's really, really damn good. That's a fireable offense. I don't see why the Cleveland Browns or any other team would trade a second round pick for Amik Robertson. I think his value is completely overplayed. I don't even know if Hendon Hooker would garner a second round pick, a third, maybe late second, possibly. So I think you can get all those guys you just mentioned, JTT, Landon Jackson. I think you can get all of those guys in a different way by trading a backup quarterback that's probably never going to play for the Detroit Lions. I think that's the route I would rather go.
Again, it would be a part of a package. I wasn't just saying Amik straight up. It would be a part of that Hendon Hooker package, man. But
it would have to be a team that needs a quarterback as well. Like, I don't know what the Giants, maybe the Browns, I don't know what they're going to do in the first round. So we'd have to wait and see until draft day. But I don't know.
And there's been talk of Shadir Sanders sliding into the top half of the second round. Right. So I mean, there has been, man.
I will promise you, Shadir Sanders isn't going in the second round.
Listen, here's what I'm telling you, because of the stuff going on with him and Deion saying that he's demanding that he goes to a certain team. He's saying that I want to go to a team that understands that I'm coming in as a star and I'm changing the franchise. Owners don't like that stuff, man. Owners don't. I mean, he only has to find one. I'm not saying that he's going to go to in the second round, but what I'm saying is owners don't like them things. And if it comes down to, hey, do I deal with this BS or do I go get Kirk Cousins? Do I deal with this BS or do I go get a Hendon Hooker? You know what I mean? Like that. It's going to come down to those situations. So weirder things have happened, man. I didn't think that Mr. Levis was going to be still wearing his jacket at the end of night one. So I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting time. All it takes is one team to believe in a guy. Again, I would be believing in Hendon Hooker. I'll tell you this. If I'm drafting this year, maybe Cam Ward, but outside of that, it'd be Hendon for me. But I do like Shadir Sanders, if I'm being honest. Now, that other stuff, the off the field stuff, the extra stuff, the dad stuff, the all of this, it's not necessarily for me, and I don't think it's for our culture. But like I said, it only takes one. But Ryan
Clark told me that I'm not allowed to have an opinion on that. So I'll just say that Johnny Manziel said a lot of things coming into the NFL too, and someone still drafted him in the first round, and he had way more question marks. Talent outweighs question marks, especially if you're a quarterback. People had questions about Lamar Jackson. Can he throw a football? Is he going to have to play wide receiver? Someone took a gamble on him. Like, if a team's going to take a gamble, you're going to take a gamble on a quarterback, because they can transform your franchise overnight, essentially. Like, look at the Washington Commanders. Like, they did it with Jaden Daniels. Teams do it all the time. I think Shadir Sanders is for sure a top 15 picks. If he falls to pick 20, I would be absolutely amazed. And honestly,
you're mentioning Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was drafted at the end of the first round, almost a second round pick. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but he was a first round pick.
That's all I'm saying though. These are guys that should be top 5 picks, probably top 10 picks, but it's that other stuff, man. The NFL, the Shield, I'll say this, and I'll end it on this. The Shield is bigger than every player in the NFL, to include Patrick Mahomes. If you violate that shield, or they think that you are not going to respect the shield, they are going to smack you on your bottom. I don't care who you are. Right? And that's just the nature of the business, man. It's been shown time and time again. So, um, it's going to be interesting to see.
I mean, if Shedeur Sanders when he gets drafted, he's either going to do exactly what he says and he's going to light the league on fire, or he's going to get humbled very, very quickly, either by his teammates or in practice or in a scrimmage or in preseason. He'll get a dose. I mean, not everyone's elite, like unstoppable, never makes a mistake. But I don't know, Will, just back on topic with just trading people. When I watched this team last year just get absolutely worn out from week one to the final game against Washington, just broken down from attrition. It wasn't just all at once. It was just little itty bitty pieces. I want to keep the pieces I have. If I have to trade a piece that didn't play anything last year for me, Hendon Hooker, and get some more picks, I'm all for that. But when I'm talking pieces that are getting on a field, making a difference, making some plays, an injury bug here or there, you have to start now. You have to play nickel. Maybe you have to play outside corner. I can shuffle you around. I can't be trading those types of pieces. I want to add to that team.
What's more important, an edge or a corner?
An edge.
So here's what I'm talking about. How we have 1.5 edges right now. We have 27 corners. Right. So then that's the bottom line for me. Like, so I get one more edge in the draft, and then I end up with 2.5 edges. I got one edge in Marcus Davenport. Now you're taking a more important position. You got less bodies at that position. So now when Marcus Davenport goes out, you're depending on a rookie at the edge position and Aiden, who's probably going to be 85% of what Aiden Hutchinson is going into next season. You know what I'm saying? So it's a no-brainer for me for those reasons. Like, I want to get as many. You keep saying trenches. I want to get as many of those guys in the trenches. If I'm creating a pass rush and we're getting after the quarterback and the quarterback is checking under his bed at night, then hey, maybe guys like Kendall Vildor look good. You know what I mean?
Never.
But when they got
Kendall
nothing,
Vildor will never look good.
But when these guys got nothing but time, man, it doesn't matter who you got out there. It doesn't matter what the coverage is. It doesn't matter if you got a bunch of Sauce Gardners out there. If the quarterback's got nothing but time, like you mentioned the injury bug, and it's the same thing going to that D line. If that injury bug strikes again with the D line, hey, I'd rather be looking at, okay, if Terrion goes down, okay, now we're gonna have Rock go in. Now we're gonna have Avonte Maddox. Now we're gonna have maybe Brian Branch bump to the nickel spot and bump our nickel out to the outside. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather be playing those games with a beefed up secondary that we have than looking at Al Muhammad again being a starter in the NFL and not a rotational guy.
Yeah, there's Lions fans that are thrilled though about Al-Qadim Muhammad is back. Will, thrilled, I've been seeing on Twitter.
I'm happy he's back.
I'm lukewarm. I could take it or leave it. Also, we don't know what Brad's going to do in the draft. Maybe he goes out and drafts three edges. There's that many in this draft that he could do that. He could go 28, 60, 102, edge, like he did it last year. Not three in a row, but he took two corners in a row. He's taken two defensive tackles in a row. Like, we don't know. This is an edge-heavy draft. Maybe he just sits back and says, I'll keep all my pieces. I'll draft three edges. I'll draft two edges and a D tackle. Like, that fixes a lot of problems too. And then you didn't have to give up anything.
Yeah, but then the edge that you get is going to be the difference. Maybe you're drafting an edge at 102 now, and you could have been drafting them at 67. It's bottom line.
Maybe. I mean, ifs and buts, candy and nuts. We'll never know. I doubt we'll ever get the answer to this question.
We will. We'll get it on draft night.
Anything else tonight?
No, that's it, man. I'm excited, man. I can't wait. Amik, when you watch this episode, please don't be mad at me.
Yeah, remember who had your back, Amik. Remember who was trying to get jerseys to give away, and then all of a sudden now he's wanting to trade you, Amik. It wasn't Steve Perkins. Just keep that in mind. I might upload this clip and put it on Twitter and tag him and see what he says, because I know he's active on social media. Will completely turned his back on you. Steve, come on the podcast. We'll talk it. We'll set Will straight. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.
No loyalties.